Now bear with me on this one. You might be saying, does this really qualify as one of the best games I've never played? Well, let me answer that question in two parts. One, I'll bet you've never played it. And two, yes, it really is that good. Keep in mind I'm talking about the Wii version of the game, which is much different than the PS3 and PC versions. And would you believe me if I said it's actually the best version? Yep, that's right. On a third-party multi-platform game, the Wii has the best version of them all. On Metacritic, the critic score and the user scores are both quite a bit higher than they are on other platforms. Should you really be surprised, though? It seems like the Wii was almost made for golf games. But the problem is most of them suck, which just makes the exclusion of Mario Golf just that much more puzzling. But thankfully, Tiger Woods is here to the rescue with one of the best golf games I've ever played. Unlike most Tiger Woods games, this one is actually unique when compared to its predecessors. First and foremost is the inclusion of the Masters tournament, which is one of the biggest golf tournaments in the world. With the Masters comes the inclusion of Augusta National Golf Club, where the tournament is played every year and is also one of the best golf courses in the world. Also new this year is the caddy. In previous games, you would always have a caddy tip pop up on the screen and give you advice, but this time you have an actual caddy there giving you advice on the spot. I was unsure how I'd like this feature, but honestly, I like it quite a bit. However, the best feature this game has is the Road to the Masters mode. This is the main mode of the game where you play as your own custom-created character and work your way from an amateur playing on the PGA Tour to getting in the Masters. Starting out the game is tough since your skills are so low, but with practice and patience you'll eventually get better and start winning golf tournaments. Perhaps, even if you're lucky, you'll win the Masters once or twice. As your golfer levels up, you'll advance higher into the tours, starting with the amateur tours and then the nationwide tour, and then your ultimate goal, the PGA Tour. Another cool feature is the Masters Moments. Here you can play in scenarios of real events that took place in the actual Masters tournament. They're fun and challenging at the same time, but the problem is they don't quite measure up to make you feel like you're playing in the epic moments that they really were in real life. That being said, the actual game does a great job of that. When you play the game, you actually feel like you're in a professional golf tournament, with the announcers, the crowds watching, and your caddy being there. It feels as real as it can get, and I really like that. So the game is great, I really like it a lot, but it could be a bust for some people. Let me explain. Every Tiger Woods game before 2010 used the traditional Wiimote, and they really were bad. Since 2010, they've started support for Wii Motion Plus, and it makes a world of difference. In fact, without Wii Motion Plus, this game wouldn't be half as good as it is. With the Motion Plus, the game reads your swing in real time, so you can shape the shots how you want. This also adds to the realism, and is honestly one of the most fun times I've ever had playing a golf video game. I love shaping the ball how I want in real life, and it's almost just as fun in the game. The game has its flaws, though. Graphically it's far behind the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions, but that's to be expected. However, playing it on the Wii U through HDMI does help. Also, the questionable mechanics and physics that are in previous Tiger Woods games are here too, like the way your ball reacts to trees, and when your ball is in the tall grass, it's nearly unplayable. Small quirks aside, though, Tiger Woods PGA Tour 12 on Wii is an excellent game, and if you love golf, it's a must-buy. Oddly, it carries a somewhat hefty price tag, so expect to pay around $50 online. But, if you ask me, it's totally worth the price. If I could only say one good thing about Dynamite Duke, it would have to be how amazing its cover art is. You just don't see cover art that awesome anymore. All kidding aside, the cover art is actually pretty dreadful, but it sets the tone for the rest of the game. A cheesy, check-your-brain-in-at-the-door type of game, and you'll love every minute of it. The story of the game is straight out of an 80s action movie. In the year 2091, holes in the ozone layer have become so big that people were being toasted alive. After 5 years of research, the Global Alliance developed a human life form that could survive a full blast of the sun's radiation. Days later, the leading scientist, Dr. Neil Ash, vanished along with a briefcase of classified files. A few years later, the Global Alliance hears of an unknown military base in the island of Ronton. The Global Alliance sends out a special group of spy corps to the island, and only one returns, fatally wounded. The wounded soldier tells the Global Alliance that Dr. Ash has created an army of mutants to seize control of the world, and he is their colonel. So now it's up to the Global Alliance's secret weapon, Colonel Duke Ripham, After Duke's body has been shredded by a dynamite blast, he was rebuilt as a half-flesh, half-bionic human with a lethal right arm. His incredible powers have given him the name Dynamite Duke. Now you, as Duke, must go to Ronton and destroy the mutants and eventually Colonel Ash. See, I told you that was right out of an 80s action flick. In fact, that might even be too bizarre for an 80s action flick. Gameplay-wise, though, Dynamite Duke is somewhat familiar to Cabal from the last episode. Basically a third-person shooter, Dynamite Duke has an interesting blend of shooter and hand-to-hand combat. You can shoot your enemies, of course, but you can also kick or punch them if they get too close. It works fairly well, but it's not a perfect system. The one complaint I have about the hand-to-hand combat is every boss functions this way. The enemies level features a boss, and it's basically just a punching match. Bullets don't do anything. Most of the time you can spam punches and kicks and beat the enemies sort of easily, but the boss can do the same, so it requires a bit more thinking than just spamming the B or C button to win. Overall, the boss battles are probably the game's weakest parts. They're intuitive, sure, but not as fun as the rest of the game. But at least the game did try something new. I have had a couple of other small complaints as well. First of all, the sound effects are absolutely horrendous. I know the Genesis isn't known for its sound, but these are even bad for Genesis standards. They're ridiculously bad, in fact. Though you could say it adds to the game's charm, and I might just agree with you. Another thing is the bullets that appear to be lemons are constantly coming at you, and at times it's hard to tell where exactly they are in relation to you, so you will take hits. Thankfully, you can take several hits before you die. Make no mistake though, you will die and probably die often. One nice thing the game does though is give you plenty of ammo and plenty of health. By destroying certain parts of the environment, items will drop. You can even get a fully automatic weapon, as the one you start with is not fully automatic. While I have a few gripes with the game, they're rather few and far between, and I can forgive them for the amount of fun I have. Dynamite Duke is in the ranks of one of the most obscure Genesis games that I own, and it's a shame because it's a fun game and deserves more. Dynamite Duke won't run you much money, despite not being the most common game, so if you find it, pick it up. Or if you have to resort to online, it's still worth it. Of all the games I've done this series, Serious Sam: The Next Encounter is the only one that holds nostalgic value for me. I played the hell out of this game as a kid. I've probably beaten it a handful of times, played a lot of local deathmatch multiplayer, and even played the campaign via the co-op option. But taking the nostalgic glasses off, this game still kicks some pretty major ass. Developed by Climax and published by Global Software, Serious Sam: The Next Encounter is an outrageous, over-the-top, stupidly fun first-person shooter for the Gamecube and the PS2. This is the Gamecube version you're looking at here. I've heard the Gamecube version is a superior version because of its improved frame rate and very quick loading times. However, I've never played the PS2 version to be able to actually verify that. There is a story to the game, though it's nothing noteworthy. Basically, it's a race through time between you, Serious Sam, and the game's antagonist, Mental. Your goal is to reach the time-traveling device before Mental does. Now, there's no actual real race here or anything, so don't get the impression you have to run through the levels as fast as possible or anything. So the gameplay is where I have the most fun with Serious Sam. Basically, the game throws guns, ammo, health, armor, and hordes of enemies at you. Clearing out the enemies allows you to advance further into the game. Most levels follow that same formula, and though it might sound boring and repetitive, it stays fun because of the game's over-the-top humor and how fun it is to blast hundreds of enemies away with machine guns. But perhaps the one thing that makes the game a real riot to play is its emphasis on score. While playing, you have a constant score at the top of your screen. Killing enemies or finding treasure grants you points. The more points you acquire and the faster you finish a level, the higher medal you get. You can also earn a ton of points by getting a 20-kill combo. When that happens, you'll enter the super combo killing spree for 15 seconds. During this time, all of the points are doubled, so you can really rack up the score here. There's really nothing spectacular about Serious Sam: The Next Encounter, but it's just too much fun not to recommend. Walking into a giant arena with a chain gun, hearing enemies spawn, and unloading hundreds of bullets into them is fun that's unrivaled in other first-person shooters. Mix that in with a complete co-op campaign and a fun multiplayer, and you've got an excellent game that you don't want to pass up on.